So today we are going to finish the list, and I hope by today we finish the morphology section of the course, and I'll be leaving you a list of exercises in SIGA that you're going to solve in SIGA on morphology so that you can review all the contents. Okay, so you should do it individually, and you have at least 1 week to solve those exercises, and they are part of your evaluation. Okay, it's not an exam, it's a kind of reinforcement so that you can review morphology. Well, let's go to this last exercise, number 4. So you are going to see the morphemes that you know. You are going to parse the word into morphemes or morphs. Any extra letters we are going to put in parentheses. I mean, like by extra letters, the fillers. And you are going to give a literal meaning for each morpheme so that we can find a literal meaning for the word. For example, intersection. Inter means between, yeah, in the middle, yeah. Sect is to cut, and yan is a derivational noun-forming suffix that will tell us that this is the process or the result of cutting something in the middle, in between. So it would be like the result of cutting in the middle or in a point. Between extremes. Like when you have two straights in geometry, A and B, and they are somehow concurrent, they are not parallel, so they will, at a certain moment, intersect each other, okay? So let's go to microbiology. What are the morphemes that you can recognize here in microbiology? Would you help me?
The
What's the
first is
first?
micro.
Micro,
Micro.
which means,
Something very
let
small.
yeah. So let's use the help of colors here. So micro means very small. And the next one, what is it? We have now the word biology. Can you split the word biology into other morphemes?
Well, we can see bio, that means life if I'm correct.
Bio means life. Very good. So we have bio, life. And how about logi? Is it a full morph, or do you find any way to split it? What is the meaning of logi? Or is it
Logi, it's like a suffix that tells about some kind of knowledge, some kind of.
knowledge? Knowledge, very good. But is it logi or log? How would you treat it? Micro, bio, log, y, or micro, bio, logi? How would you approach this? Think of other words ending in y, cosmology, or not necessarily with logi.
History.
History. Yeah, but it ends in Y, and his store would be the root. Well, this is in English, it's consecrated as a suffix, okay? But if you would stick to the Latin origin, you could say log means knowledge, and Y is something that, yeah, Y is the process or the result of, okay? Let's treat logi as the study of. Let's make things simpler. So logi means study of. So what would be the literal meaning for microbiology? How could you write a kind of entry for this word?
The study of very small
The
lives.
study of very small
Lives.
forms of life. Yeah? This would be a working definition. Of course, yours could be slightly different, but I think if you went through this path, you cannot escape into very different meanings. Now let's go to the next one, pseudoscience. Well, where would you like to start from? From the root, from the suffix, from the prefix? Where is it? What would you say is the root, for instance?
The root is science.
Science.
Yeah.
Okay, let's paint it. Can you split the word science into smaller units? What do you think? It's the same thing for logi. You could split it log, y. You could split it scientifical. It's very difficult to determine if the root is science or psi, because ans in English is also a suffix, isn't it? As in competence, eloquence, turbulence, and so on. Now, what does ans mean? A person that is eloquent has the property of eloquence. A person that is has a lot of patience, a person that is patient has the feature of patience, the quality of patience. Okay, so some people could argue that this is a suffix as well, ans. Okay, the property of. Okay, but in this case, does it seem to be the property of, or does science seem to you as the root? What do you think? How do you feel about this?
It's in the roots because we could change pseudo for other thing. Like I can't think of an example right now, but we could change pseudo for another more. For example, let me think.
Pseudopolitics, pseudopod,
Yeah,
those pseudopods, insects that they have feet that are not necessarily feet. Okay, but this explanation, I think it's not enough. Okay, science is a word that is a noun. When it becomes an adjective, for instance, we drop the CE and we have scientific. Okay. And as you can see, it's not ans that is discarded, but just CE. So it looks like that N is also part of the word scientifical, Scientology, that religion that Tom Cruise is part of. Okay, so it looks like that it's a kind of morph that has this final CE when it's a noun and loses part of it to give place to another suffix when it's derived, sorry. So pseudo, how would you treat pseudo? Is it a full morph or there is something smaller that we can come up with pseudo? Can we split this into smaller units? Going through the dictionary will help us a lot. If you go through to the dictionary, you have sealed, and then you search for sealed, you have pseudantium. Let me open it. Let me share it with you here. You see here, pseudantium, although it's not part of the dictionary, there are examples of occurrences. The individual flowers of a pseudantium commonly are called florets. You know, cauliflower or uh, cauliflower. You know what is it? Couve-flor. It's a group of flowers, a group of flowers, a group of very small flowers is a pseudantium. What is my interest here? Is showing you this A. The pseudantium has a row of bracts below the flowers, forming an involucre. Anyway, we have an A. Pseud, pseudantium, pseudo, science. Let's search again. Pseud. Pseud. So we have most of them are sealed, like pseudonym, okay? But we have pseuda, pseudantium. With E, we don't have. With Y, we don't have. O, it's kind of abundant. And U, we don't have. So it seems that we have pseuda and pseudo. So how should we approach this thing here? Going back to the exercise. How would you approach this O? As part of the morph or as a filler? What kind of decision would you take? If there is something called pseudantium, if you stick to the dictionary and to the words that do exist in the dictionary, you will see that that is a better word. That word is part of a technical vocabulary, but it's not incorporated into the English language. Not yet, okay? So this approach could validate the view that pseudo is a prefix. This is a point of view. If you want to include words that haven't been written down in the dictionary, but they do exist in technical terms, you could, you could, it's a different approach. It does not mean it's wrong or right. You could consider the O as a filler, considering the existence of pseudantium, okay? So you could say A and O are different fillers for the same morph pseud, okay? Anyway, the meaning of this prefix is what? Pseud or pseudo. What is the meaning of pseudo?
Fake.
Fake. Fake or deceiving. Or something that's an illusion, something the like, okay? And science, it's difficult to define science It's the knowledge of something, yeah. Science, science is science, but we should give it a definition. So it's a formal knowledge. Yeah, be science is to have it's to have consciousness of something. So pseudoscience is a false, fake, or misleading knowledge. Easy, isn't it? Anybody that came to a conclusion similar to this is right. Okay. Now let's go to extracorporeal. What is the root of this? Extracorporeal. What is the root?
Corpor?
Corpor. Here?
Yes.
Okay, let's start from here. So, what is the all thing? What is the meaning of corpor? I'm not saying it's the final solution, okay? I'm just trying to build a hypothesis. What's the meaning? What would be the meaning of corpor?
I guess it's not corpor with the R, but just corpo.
Corpo.
Yes. Real, I guess, would be a suffix like in memorial.
Okay. Just a literal meaning for this. If you had to give an equivalent word in English, corpo?
Corporation.
No, no, not a derived word. A literal meaning for this part of the
Oh,
word.
Body.
Body. Body. Okay, let's work on this. When we have a cadaver, when we have a dead body, what do you call it? Let's go to a synonym dictionary. One moment. Okay. Synonyms in English. Let's find a good synonym dictionary. Let's go to this thesaurus here. Let's write down cadaver. Uh,
Cadaver.
okay, so we have synonyms for carcass, skeleton, stiff, the remains, or corpse.
Corpse.
What is a corpse? What does corpse has to do with corporeal? What is the part that is reminiscent from corporeal into the word corpse?
the corp.
The corp part is incorporation, as you said. So let's go back to the list. So we have a good clue that corp is the root. Okay, instead of corpo, it's corp. And looks like that O is inserted somehow, either as a suffix or as a filler. We are going to decide, okay? A corp is a body. Now, where are the prefixes and suffixes? Which is easier for you to find, the prefix or the suffix?
Prefix is
The
extra.
Extra, which means what?
An
something
additional.
more.
No, not additional. In this case, I think it's outside of the body.
Yeah, extra can mean both things. It can mean something in
Yeah,
excess, yeah, something more. But in this
yeah.
case, it means something
That is
apart or
apart.
outside, a part
Yeah.
of or outside of. So we have extra corp. Now we have this Oreo part. We have to split these into one or more morphemes. There should be one or more suffixes. What are the suffixes that you can recognize in this black final part of the word? Oreo.
The real.
Real. Is it really real? So something outside of the body that's real. Is it really real, the suffix, or is it more than one suffix? Can I say, for example, this is a filler, O is a filler, and real is the suffix? Or would you treat these as two or more suffixes?
I think eo is one suffix. Eo.
Eo as a suffix. And what would it mean? Eo. Can you recall
Like
other
an
words?
experience. Like an
Sorry?
experience. Like an experience outside of
An
the body.
experience of.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Think of other words ending in eo.
Uh, memorial.
Memorial ends in IO. IAL, not in EAL. Uh,
Material.
material. Yes. But what's the root of the word material? Let's use part of the sensor here as a whiteboard. What's the root of the word material? It's matter. Yeah. IAL, not EAL. What does it tell you about eo? Is it really the suffix or is all the suffix? And e is the changing part. Sometimes z, sometimes I. Do you think corporeal and material or ethereal? You know ethereal from ether? Yeah,
That's
something
what I
that
was going to say. I just found ethereal.
ethereal. Yeah, ethereal is something that recalls you of ether that dissolves on the air, in the air. So ethereal is IAL, ethereal. And this is corporeal with E, not with I. So what does it tell you about this vowel? Is this vowel part of the morph or is it some kind of linking vowel to connect the morph to the root?
I think it's just linking.
Filler. Then it, oops, and it's a filler. And all. Can you think of other words ending in all besides ethereal, besides material? Considering all as a suffix, what does all mean? Immaterial, it's what comes from the matter. In sensorial, what is something that is a sensorial experience?
It comes from
Senses,
your
yeah,
senses.
yeah, comes from. So something that comes from, what it do for you? Always what comes from, like political. A political protest is a protest that comes from politics or related to. Related to. Do you think this approach is adequate?
Yes, and maybe belonging to.
Belonging to. Example, something that is social is what? Social behavior is a behavior belonging to a certain
Yeah.
society. Yeah, social behavior. All is a derivational suffix. What kind of derivational suffix? Noun forming, verb forming, adjective forming, adverb forming,
Adjective form.
adjective forming. So it will determine the property of coming from some noun or being related to it or belonging to a certain group. Okay. Now we have almost an agreement that this is a filler. Now, what should I do with this or? Can you think of words that end in or? We have extra, we have corp, and we have all. But what should we do with or? We know that act, actor, or uh, I can't recall any other one, or
Author,
author. This or is similar to that as in teacher, performer. They are
editor too.
allomorphs. But I don't think it's the case here because a corpor is not someone that makes corpses. So it seems to be a coincidence. This or over here in the middle, preceding all. Can you think of other words that end in Oreo or or I all? Sensorial is the same case, yeah? Take a look at sensorial. Sensorial, we have sense as the root. We have the or. We have the I as a filler. And we have all, just like in corporeal. And what is the meaning of or here? Is the same as in actor? I don't think so. Can you give a literal meaning for this, or do you think these two morphs operate together? One should precede the other necessarily. Sensorial, corporeal. Can you think of other adjectives that rhyme with this? Territorial. Let's work with territorial.
Memorial. Memorial.
Memorial, which we have mem. Well, but here you could say this is part of the root because the root is memory, so we drop the y and stick to memor. But when you get territorial, and we have terry as meaning land, yeah, a piece of land, or territorial. Anyway, this also could be argued. This is part of territory, which is the noun, but territory comes from terri, which is Latin, yeah, terra, or terrestrial. And then you would see that terri is the root. So what is the meaning of or? What should we do with or?
Uh,
Can I give
I
a meaning to it?
I see that is a person who or something that.
Something that what? Something that
It's just that it's a thing that.
I would say that or is a morpheme, is a kind of auxiliary morpheme that preparates the coming of all. It's like I know that it's a morph. I cannot gloss it because it operates with preceding. It operates preceding all and or all or plus all. Sometimes Oreo, sometimes Oreo is the full group of morphs that will derive, for example, sense into sensorial or corpse into corporeal. All is belonging to or is what prepares this morph. Some morphemes, I cannot say, for example, corporal, not in English, but can I do that in Portuguese? Corporal. Does it exist in Portuguese?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. In English, we have some special rule that we should preparate with a previous morpheme or, okay? I would put the meaning of this as an empty meaning. Now I need that Greek word. Let me see. I need the mapa de caracteres.
Teacher, uma pergunta. No caso, esse ezinho que o senhor colocou também seria um morfema auxiliar?
Qual esse? Não, ele é um filler, ele é uma vogal temática,
Ah, sim, sim.
tá? Ele justamente por ser uma vogal, não um morfema, né? Ele é uma letra, ele não é um morfema. Agora, no caso do or, é isso. Ele é. Eu tô tentando achar aqui um símbolo. Eu vou pôr aqui, empty, né? Mas não é empty significa empty. Ele é um empty morph. Ele é um morfema que está preparando a chegada de outro. Eles existem operando em conjunto. Or mais vogal temática mais all derivam de uma certa natureza, pertencente a um certo grupo, ok? Bom, se a gente for glossar isso aqui, extracorporeal means a part of the body, something related to, but a part of a certain body, something related to, but a part of the body. Examples of extracorporeal devices or instruments: earrings, necklaces, everything that does not belong to the body, or extracorporeal machines like the superhuman devices that we have created, like the airplane. We cannot fly, but we created extracorporeal devices that enable us to fly. Okay, so this would be the result. Anybody that came to a conclusion at least similar to this is fine. And finally, the
Uh,
last
ju-
one. Yes,
just a question. Shouldn't it be apart from the body? I'm not sure.
apart from something related to, but apart from. I think the preposition is from. You were right. Yes, thank you. Now,
Problem.
psychopatic. Let's work with psychopatic. What calls your attention here? Where would you find the root?
Psycho.
Psycho. Can you think of other words starting with psycho?
Psycho is already one.
Psycho
Psycho.
is already one. We have
Psychology, I guess.
psychology. Can you split psycho? Think of words that are almost psycho, but something is out. Let's go to the dictionary for one moment. Okay, back to the Cambridge.
There is physics.
Has psych.
Psych. Psych. Psych. Psych. That's the name.
Oops. Why doesn't it speak? It's not speaking. Well, okay, psych and psych classes. He majored in psych, okay? And then we have, I don't know why it does not work. I think it's, let me reload it. Anyway, forget it. So if we extend, let's test with vowels. Do we have psycha? No. Psyche. We have this word, psyche, which means the mind or the deepest thoughts, the feelings or beliefs of a person or group. Psyche. We have after E, we can test I, and we have psychiatric. Yeah. I don't know why it's not working. I'm sorry. And we can test O, and then we have psychoactive, psychoanalyze, psychoanalysis, psychoanalyst. We have plenty of them with O. O seems to be the most abundant vowel. And finally, with U, we do not have any word. Okay, so we have the vowel A, I, E, and O, which is a good clue that the root is psycho or psych. Which seems to be the root for you? Psycho or psych?
Psych.
Psych. And what should I do with O then? So we decide that O is not part of the root because we have psycha, like we have psyche, we have the letter E, the letter I, the letter O. So what are all these letters? Are they morphemes? What are they? How would you consider them?
I guess there are the filler.
The fillers, yeah. So psych means mind. O is a filler. Let's consider it as a filler. You do not have to give meanings for fillers. Now, paddock. Can you split this into smaller morphemes? Is it a suffix or is it a group of suffixes or is it a root plus a suffix or is it a prefix plus a suffix? Sorry, a prefix plus a root. What do you think? Paddock. Homeopathic. Psychopatic or sociopathic. How does patic affect you? As a full morpheme or as a group of morphemes?
I think it's a group.
Can you give me more evidence?
Well, I think ick is already a suffix. Ick.
For instance,
Like psychic,
words with ick.
psychic, psychic, psychic.
Psychic. What is a psychic?
Mm, well, I can only think on fictional responses.
Yeah, here I have the definition in the dictionary, okay? Not to delay the class, I won't share the screen, but I'll read it for you. Psychic is an adjective having a special mental ability. For example, so that you are able to know what will happen in the future or know what people are thinking. Okay, a psychic is someone that is able to guess something that goes on your mind, supposedly. Okay, it's a kind of pseudoscience. Uh, Going back here, so we have psychic. We have other words in ick as dramatic, pathologic. So what does ick mean? If you had to write an entry for the suffix ick, what is ick? Dramatic. What is the relationship between dramatic and drama?
Dramatic is something or someone that is very no, that no, I could say
Dramatic is something or
well,
someone.
yeah,
Because it's a noun. Sorry, it's an adjective. Dramatic. Ick will determine that this word will be probably an adjective. Something or someone with an X property. Let's say like this. So an X-ic person is a person that is X. Like a dramatic person is a person with drama as part of his or her characteristics. Yeah, that makes a lot of drama. Or problematic is someone with problems. Okay, someone or something with a certain property or characteristic. Do you agree? Or you are not convinced? Ick. Do you agree that ick?
can you repeat? Oh,
Okay, do you agree that the suffix ick will always refer to someone or something with a certain property, with a certain
well,
characteristic? For example, dramatic, someone that makes drama, or problematic, someone with a lot of problems, or some situation that implies lots of problems.
It's
Or
always make me wonder, but I can't think on another meaning, another word with a different meaning.
okay, let's look for words and then in ick. Let me search here. Words in ick. Like electromagnetic or electromagnetic is something that has to do with electromagnetism. Electromagnetic is the property of having electromagnetism. Do you agree? Or related to electromagnetism. Like impressionistic. What is impressionistic art? Is art related to impressionism. So ick is a kind of property, an adjective. When I wrote down property, I could say quality. One or something with a certain quality, with a certain characteristic, with a certain feature. Okay? Can you think of other applications of ick? Let's look for some words with ick, like alcoholic. What is an alcoholic? Someone or something that depends on alcohol,
Addicted.
workaholic. Someone or something that depends on work, that's addicted to. It's another meaning. Yeah, a kind of addiction. It could be also addiction. Abagistic, alcoholic. Now, patic seems to me more than having a certain kind of quality characteristic or an addiction. What do you think? A psychopatic is someone that has a mental characteristic or a mental addiction. You should relate, yeah, psych, mind, mental, yeah. Let's change it for, yeah, mind or mental. And ick is what we are trying to decide on, if it's a certain characteristic or an addiction. How does psychology classify psychopathic people? As addicted people or people that have certain mental characteristics?
I guess the characteristic.
Yeah, it's a kind of a characteristic that is a disease, yeah, such as an addiction is also a disease, but it's more to a characteristic, okay, a feature, a property of. Okay. Now, path. Can we split this or is this a morph? Can we split it into smaller units or can I consider it a morph? Path. Ei, gente, estão vivo aí? É o último exercício. Depois a gente já entra em Word Formation Process. O que vocês acham?
I
Path,
can't think.
dá para dividir ou é um morfema por si?
I can't divide it.
Você consegue pensar uma palavra que tenha esse morfema aí? Path.
Pathetic.
Pathetic, good, pathetic. Esses dias eu vi alguém falar, o Moro é patético. Não, apesar da voz, não tem nada a ver com pato, ele é marréctico. Né? Ele é um marreco. Uh, pathetic. Vocês conseguem pensar em alguma outra coisa com path? Quando vocês estão doentes, vocês estão com o quê? Com uma? Como é que os médicos chamam
Pathology.
doença?
Uma patologia, uma
Pathology.
pathology.
Pathology, yes. So path means what? Pathology, going to the dictionary, if we search for path, of course you will find path as a way, okay, which is not the case we are looking for here, okay? Path as a kind of way that you follow a path, but this is just a coincidence. And we have path as in pathetic, pathology, pathogen, pathogenesis, pathogenic, pathological. So what does path mean? What is it related to? Psych, we have the O as a filler. How about path? What is its meaning? Se tivesse que traduzir pathology no popular. Homeopatia, de onde que vem esse patia?
De patos,
De
que é
pato,
doença. Como se
isso.
fosse doença.
A disease, a disorder, a physical disorder, or a health disorder, disease, isn't it? So let's try to give a meaning for psychopatic. Looks like it's someone with a certain characteristic. What characteristic? A disease. Someone with a disease. What kind of disease? A mental disease. Is it? Is it a psychopatic is someone with a mental, oops, with mental disease? Is it what a psychopatic is? Does it work for you?
Say a mental disorder, which is
A
not really
mental
a disease.
disorder. In this case, a disease is not the proper term according to what modern psychiatrists tell us.
Yeah.
So, disorder. Someone with a mental disorder. Be more scientifically accurate. Is it okay? Does the definition work?
I think so.
Good. So we are finished with this exercise. This exercise is more for you to know that we can split the words, we can investigate words by means of looking at similar words with the same roots, sometimes with the same suffixes or prefixes, okay, so that we can guess or we can at least have a clue of what the word means, even though sometimes we don't even look up the dictionary, okay? So let's talk now about the word formation processes that involve these prefixes and suffixes. Let me just share the slides with you. So today we are going to reflect on a very intriguing question. How are English words formed? How are English words formed from what you learned in the list of exercises that you have just done? How do we form the words in English and also in Portuguese? Are words ready-made entities that are unchangeable? Can words change? And can words be created?
Yes, we form words according to the meanings. So if it's necessary, we can derivate, we can create another word.
Yes, according to social needs, according to technological advances, we create words. Yeah, because we create reality. Our reality changes, vocabulary also changes. So, different types of words uh, come from different formation processes. Okay, so we have words, as you said, Query, that are derived words. Can you give us an intuitive idea of what a derived word is? We have the original word, and we derive out of that word, we derive some vocabulary, some lexicon. For instance, in Portuguese, we have a kind of suffix that we don't have in English. When I want to say little boy in Portuguese, what do I say?
Menininho.
Garotinho.
Garotinho, menininho. Do we have this in English?
No.
No, we use an adjective, little, instead, isn't it? So let's just reflect upon this to check if you learned well derivation and inflection. In English, it's a kind of using adjectives. So it's neither derivation nor inflection. It's something related to the syntax, to the grammar. In Portuguese, menininho, inho, is it a derivational or an inflectional suffix? O sufixo inho do português, balde, baldinho, copo, copinho, menino, menininho, isso é derivacional ou é inflexional?
Derivacional.
Inflexão é que não mudava a classe, né?
Não muda a classe, só dá a
Ah, você está
ideia.
falando da classificação partindo do inglês, né? Porque no português é
Não,
diferente.
não, em português, em português.
É
O inho.
porque a derivação no português seria adicionar esse sufixo, né? Seria uma derivação sufixal. Aí no inglês que muda a classe gramatical, mas no português não
Não,
muda.
peraí, não
Não,
necessariamente,
não
né?
entendi o que. Não sei se eu
Não
entendi a
necessariamente,
pergunta.
sabe por quê? Menino e menininho não mudou a classe. Menino é substantivo, menininho também. O que
Isso.
você mudou foi a intensidade, né? O que que é a inflexão? A inflexão, ela é uma alteração que pode ser sufixal. No inglês, por exemplo, ela é somente sufixal. Em algumas línguas ela pode ser prefixal ou até mesmo infixal no meio, né? E ela altera gênero, ela altera tempo, e no caso do português, ela altera inclusive a noção de tamanho, de intensidade de alguma coisa. Pouco, pouquinho, né? Ou forte, fortinho, né? Isso mexe na intensidade, mas não mexe na classe de palavra. Eu ficaria mais com a hipótese. Quem foi que fez a outra hipótese? Foi Matheus?
Eu
Quem
fiz a
foi?
hipótese que era inflexional.
Peraí, deixa eu ver quem tá falando, porque eu tô na tela do slide. Quem é que
Não, Matheus,
falou?
eu fiz
Matheus,
Matheus, eu
Matheus.
fiz a hipótese
Matheus
que
que
era
falou
inflexional.
que era inflexão e eu, Ana Luísa, que falei que era derivação.
Derivação. A derivação, geralmente, você muda a classe de palavra, né? Então, por exemplo, moleque, molecagem, né? Aí você, opa, moleque é um substantivo, molecagem é o quê? É um outro substantivo ou é um adjetivo? O que vocês acham? Sacana e sacanagem. São dois substantivos ou um deles é substantivo, o outro é adjetivo? E eu estou trabalhando com neologismos que talvez nem estejam no dicionário, que é para vocês pensarem
Na
mesmo.
verdade, eu acho que sacana que é o adjetivo e
É o
sacanagem é o
adjetivo.
substantivo.
Vejam, é isso que
Sacanagem
eu
que é o
quero chamar a
substantivo.
atenção de vocês. Nem sempre um adjetivo deriva de um substantivo. Às vezes pode ser o contrário. Eu posso ter um adjetivo e ele formar um substantivo. Você tem a pessoa sacana, a pessoa malandra, que pratica malandragem. No caso, malandragem é o substantivo que deriva do adjetivo malandro. Sacaram? Aí sim é derivação. Muitas vezes eu posso ter dois substantivos, moleque e molecagem. Moleque pode operar como adjetivo também, né? Ele é muito moleque, mas nesse caso é um uso adjetivo, mas o termo é substantivo. Moleque designa um menino, alguém de pouca idade. Molecagem também é um substantivo que designa uma forma de agir, uma ação de natureza moleca. Sacaram? Você pode derivar dentro da mesma classe, de um substantivo criar outro, né? Mas o sentido de moleque e de molecagem é correlato, mas não é o mesmo, tá? Isso são palavras derivadas. A inflexão inho, voltando só para fechar o nosso parênteses, sei lá, copo, copinho. Eu mudei a imagem mental que eu faço do que seja um copo? Ou eu só mudei a noção de tamanho? Mudou só o tamanho, né? E tamanho é o quê? É intensidade, é mudança na intensidade de algo, tá? Então, quando eu mexo na intensidade, eu estou fazendo uma inflexão na palavra. Essa inflexão não existe no inglês. Eu ensinei para vocês oito sufixos inflexionais e nenhum deles dizia respeito a tamanho, né? Nenhum deles falava da questão espacial, da intensidade espacial. But anyway, in English, we have these different types of words from different word formation processes. We have the derived words, que são essas palavras que derivam. Verbs derive into nouns. Some nouns derive into verbs. Some other nouns can be derived into adjectives and so on. We have the lexical gaps. What is a gap? There is a gap in your theory. Quando eu digo there is a gap in your theory, what does it mean?
An empty space.
It's a space. It's an empty space. Yeah. A lexical gap is an empty space in the lexicon. A gente vai tratar isso, tá? Com detalhe. Lexical gaps are words that, although they are well formed, I mean, they can be formed according to the rules, they do not really exist. I'll give you an example of a lexical gap. Some lexical gaps, with use and with the passing of time, they become neologisms. I'll give you an example of a lexical gap in Portuguese. For instance, long time ago, there was a labor minister in Brazil that took his dog to the vet in an official car. Não, é outro exemplo. Esse ele disse que a cachorra era ser humano, mas aí não tem derivação. O mesmo ministro, o Rogério Magri, uma vez ele disse que o salário do trabalhador era imexível. Eu pergunto, essa palavra obedece uma regra de formação, de derivação? Tem um certo presidente, né, que disse que era imbrochável, incomível, imorrível. Existe imorrível? Qual é o correto? Aquele que não morre é o quê?
Imortal.
E de onde ele tira imorrível? Porque ele é muito burro? Talvez, mas não é essa a explicação. Tem uma forma de fazer uma explicação que ele até parece inteligente. Por que você acha que termos como imorrível são compreendidos, ainda que não gramaticais?
Quando a gente estava vendo na parte de linguística, né? A gente estava vendo, por exemplo, as crianças que fazem a flexão do verbo
Eu
seguindo meio
fazia.
que o padrão regular, né?
Uhum.
Então, eu tenho. Eu não vou dar um exemplo, né? Mas eu acho que eu devo entender o que mais ou menos que seria.
O verbo
Né? Por
poder,
exemplo,
eu podo.
é tipo
Eu,
isso.
o verbo saber. Minha mãe tinha um aluno, minha mãe era professora do antigo, do extinto Mobral, tá? No Movimento Brasileiro de Alfabetização. Ela tinha um aluno que dizia assim: eu não sabo falar traíra, eu falo tainha. Mas sabia, né? Falava, né? Mas ele usava o eu não sabo. De onde vem isso,
Eu
Query?
não ouvo
Eu
também.
não ouvo. Fala mais alto que eu não te ouvo. Né? Ou então aquele programa da Record, do pastor, fala que eu te ouvo. Né? De onde vem isso?
Eu acho que é uma. Não sei se seria essa palavra, né? Mas é tipo uma gramática internalizada. Eu pego o padrão que existe nas outras palavras e eu tento aplicar em todas a mesma fórmula. Então, a mesma coisa. Ele falou imorrível, né?
Uhum,
Então, eu pego esse in, que é como se fosse uma partícula de negação, e eu coloco e tento aplicar em outras palavras, mesmo que exista uma outra palavra que seja equivalente.
uhum.
No caso, seria imortal, eu acho.
Isso. Na verdade, assim, não é uma característica própria desse senhor, tá? Nem estou aqui para defendê-lo como um intelectual que ele não é, mas tem lógica, ele se vale do conceito de lexical gap para formar essas palavras novas, esdrúxulas. Algumas vezes elas são esdrúxulas no sentido de esdrúxulo mesmo, de estranho, né? Ex-drúxulo, fora da regra, na verdade, fora da norma, mas existe uma regra por trás, que é a regra da maioria. Como a criança, né? O lexical gap é um dos fundamentos que explica a gramática gerativa, né? É um dos, tá? Tinha um presidente do Corinthians, há muito tempo atrás, Vicente Mateus, que ele foi no churrasco de um amigo. Tinha muitas anedotas do Vicente Mateus. Ele era considerado muito burro. Na época ainda não existia o Bolsonaro. E diz que ele foi no churrasco do amigo dele e viu um pato, né? Que andava um pouco na grama e nadava um pouquinho na lagoa, né? Ele falou que o Sócrates, jogador do Corinthians, era igual aquele pato, era um cara polivalente, jogava no ataque, jogava na defesa. Ele era como aquele pato que, além de aquático, também era gramático. Gramático por quê? Porque andava
Vem de grama, né?
na grama. Pois é.
Vixe.
Mas essas anedotas, elas servem para mostrar o quê? Existem esses lexical gaps, que são essas palavras tecnicamente bem formadas. Bem formadas no sentido que obedecem uma regra de normalidade, uma regra da maioria, um padrão, né? Embora elas não existam. Elas podem vir a ser incorporadas à língua como inicialmente como neologismos e depois até mesmo como parte do léxico, ok? Aí elas deixam de ser gaps, aí elas passam a ser só lexical words. We also have compounds. Compounds are also formed of pre-existent words, okay? We can also differentiate compounds from noun phrases, okay? And we are going to learn this when we get into the syntax part, okay? Sometimes we have two words put together and they are noun phrases. O que é uma phrase? Phrase is word plus word. Example of noun phrase. The handsome man. The handsome man, o núcleo é man, é um noun, né? Handsome, o qualifica, e the é o determiner, né? É o que determina que é um homem específico, não qualquer um. Essa expressão, the handsome man, né? The handsome man over there is waiting for you. The handsome man é um noun phrase. É uma phrase cujo núcleo, né, é um substantivo, a noun, ok? And sometimes it's not a case of a noun phrase. It's a case of a compound word. For example, compounds are when I have word plus word forming a different word with a related but not exactly the same meaning. Example, woodpecker. There is the verb to pack, yeah, packer, the one that packs, and there is the word wood. But a woodpecker is not any living entity, any animal that packs wood. It's a special kind of bird, like woody woodpecker or White House. There is a difference between a White House and the White House. What is it? It's not the same. I live in a White House, but for sure I'm not Joe Biden, who lives in the White House. There is a difference even in stress, in word stress, okay? Because White House, the White House, as a proper name, is a compound word. Can you think of other compound words in English? For instance, light bulb, okay? The lights in your house. You probably use a light bulb. Even if it's not a bulb anymore, because we now have those fluorescent lights, but we still call them light bulbs.
Light posts too. Those things are in the streets. Light posts. I don't know if that's the name.
Lamp, yeah, lamp posts, lamp posts. So you have lamp and you have
Yeah.
post and you have lamp post. Okay, so these are compounds. Okay, we have plenty of compounds in the English language, also in Portuguese. Like for example, some of them are in English and in Portuguese, they are spelled with a hyphen. Some others are not. Okay. In Portuguese, there is some kind of rule for that. In English, it's kind of arbitrary. But compounds are those kinds of words that derive from two previous existent words. Okay. I'm going to
Could
treat
I
each
say?
of
Oh,
these. Yes.
could I say
Can you
shopping
repeat?
center too? Could I say
Shopping
shopping
center
center
is,
is a compound word?
yeah, shopping center is something that we use more in Portuguese than in English. In fact, in English, it's shopping mall. Yeah, they don't say it's a shopping center, but it's a case in Portuguese. It's a case of a compound. Okay, shopping center is a case of a compound coming from a kind of foreign words. Yeah, shopping mall is the case in English. Yeah, a shopping mall is a compound. We also have many other words such as uh, maybe, let me see if I can find some words. Earring, okay. Earring is a ring that you put in your ear, or a necklace, which is a lace on your neck. There are many examples, and we are going to explore compounds in the next slide. Okay, so I'm just presenting you the types of word formation processes that we are going to see in the following slides into details. We also have acronyms. Acronyms are things like NASA or FBI or SWAT, or can you think of other acronyms? USA is an acronym.
Oh no.
It, sorry?
Oh no. I don't know. Oh,
MBA.
MBA. Can you write it down? Your audio is not very intelligible. Oh yes, in English it's UN, United Nations. Yeah. So these are acronyms, and acronyms should not be confused with abbreviations, also called truncation or clipping. Abbreviations are like prof for professor, or tele for television, or
TV TV is acronyms or abbreviation?
It's a good question because TV, television, is the junction, originally the compound word from tele plus vision. Yeah. So technically, it's an acronym. TV should be an acronym. But it can also be considered a case of abbreviation because, well, television has become consecrated as a full noun and it's just shortened. Abbreviations are shortening of words, whereas acronyms are the use of the initials. In the case of television, if you consider it as an independent noun and not uh, as two parts, then the only initial would be the letter T. Yeah. So I'd say TV is more to an abbreviation than to an acronym nowadays in modern English. Okay. Another example of acronym. I have a hard drive in my computer. What do I call it? An 8D. This is an acronym. Okay. Now, if you, for example, talk about, I don't know, let me see examples of truncation. Let me see. Some people call television the tele. This is more obvious that it's an abbreviation. Or some people call it doctors. How do you call doctors? Doc. This is an abbreviation. Okay. Now, how about PhD? Is PhD an acronym or an abbreviation? How do you feel about it? PhD. PhD. Is it acronym?
I guess would be an acronym.
It's an acronym, which means originally PhD means philosophy doctor. But, well, we know it's not only restricted to philosophy anymore. Okay. And eponyms. Okay. Eponyms are, for example, Newtonian physics or Foucauldian theory or Victorian era, Elizabethan literature, Machadian novels. You get it? When it's named after someone. So when you get proper names and you turn proper names into new words to mean that these new words are related to that proper name, they are eponyms. For example, American is an eponym because it comes from the proper name America, or Euclidean mathematics because it comes from Euclides, or, well, come on, give me more examples. For example, uh, lulista, bolsonarista é eponímio. It's an eponym because it comes from proper names. Then how about petista or PSDBista or como que fica nisso? Democrat and Republican. It's okay that it's not, it's neither acronym nor eponym because it comes from a noun, but this noun is not a proper name. Democrat and Republicans, they have been consecrated as proper names, but they are not. It's just a derivational process, turning Democrat, which is an adjective, or Republic, which is a noun, into Republican, which is an adjective. But in the case of people who follow an ideology of a certain political party, in Brazil we have acronyms to designate most political parties. Mas recentemente os partidos não precisam ter acronímios, né? Tem partidos que são acronímios e tem partidos que não são. Por exemplo, cidadania não é um acronímio de nada. É um nome próprio. Mas como que fica o caso de petistas, PSDBistas, PMDBista? Vocês encaixariam onde? Acronímio ou eponímio?
Both.
Porque PT é um acronímio, PSDB é outro, PMDB é outro. E o que vem disso? Pedetista. Parece que se toma a sigla como nome, né? Como substantivo, e disso se deriva o seguidor, né? É um caso controverso que tem no português. A gente não tem no inglês isso, né? Eu não tenho visto. Eu nunca ouvi falar de derivação ist, né? IST, em inglês para referir a sigla, né? You don't say USAist or USAian. You say American, yeah? Which for me is a problem because Canadians are also Americans. We are also Americans, but they like to call themselves the only Americans. They are the legitimate Americans. We are the stray ones. And we have blends, okay? Blends are similar to compounds, but in the case of blends, there is or there are missing parts of words, okay? For example, you have the word smoke and you have the word fog, and then you join them and form the word smog. Smoke misses the final part, k, and fog misses the initial f, and then you form smog, which is a kind of fog similar to smoke. Can you think of other words in English that are blends? We are going to see examples, don't worry. So these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 word formation processes in English. Words in English are either derived from some other word, they are lexical gaps if they are not words at all, if they are neologisms. They can be compounds, so we have two pre-existent words and we join them together to form a third one. They can be acronyms based on the initials. They can be truncations, let's call abbreviations, which is the more familiar term. They can be derived out of a proper name of someone or some place, like uh, American, which comes from the proper name America. They can be blends, okay, which is the junction of two words that each of the words misses part of it so that they can connect to each other, okay? So when we form these new words, we provide new meanings formed from the root plus a derivational morpheme. What is the name of this process? Like I have regular and I add ir and I have now irregular. I have like plus this before it. I have dislike. Do, the opposite of do, is undo. Represent is to present. Again, I add the prefix re. So I have either prefixation or suffixation to form the process of word what? Regular versus irregular.
Formation.
What? Can you repeat that?
You said the process of words. I thought it was formation. The process of word formation, isn't it? Was
Yeah,
the
it's
last
a
one.
process of word formation. In this case of regular versus irregular, like versus dislike, do and undo, present and represent, or present and presentation. What is the process involved? If you looked at these processes, which of the 7 do you think is happening here? Derivation, lexical gap, compound, acronym, abbreviation, eponym, or blend? If you had,
Derivation.
Derivation.
Yes, because we
Derivation.
are adding a derivational morpheme. In this case, all the cases here are cases of derivational prefixes. We have been talking a lot about the derivational suffixes. Now, in this slide, I bring you some derivational prefixes, okay? So we call these resultant words derived words. Why derived? Because they come from a previous word. Irregular comes from regular. Undo comes from do. Represent comes from present, and so on. Okay. The lexical gaps are well formed, as I said, but they do not exist as a word in the dictionary. They only they are only possible to be imagined, created, or so on, because there is a permissible sequence which has no meaning attached to it, but it's a permissible sequence in English grammar. It has a lot to do to childish speech, yeah, to the way children speak. For example, you can form deverbal nouns, nouns that derive from verbs by the addition of such suffixes as shan or all to some verbs. For example, we have the verb to recite, which can result into recitation or recital. Okay. But from educate, we can get education. Okay. In this case, only one noun is formed. We cannot say educator. Instead, we say what? We have educate. We can derive education. From recite, we can derive recitation or recital. But can I derive educator?
No.
Is it? No. So in this case, educator is a lexical gap. It's a permissive rule in the language, but the word does not exist. Okay. In this case, only one noun is formed. Even if the English language's morphological rules allow the formation of other nouns, they simply cannot exist. Another example, you can get the nouns proposition and proposal from the verb propose. But from the verb arrive, we can only have arrival. We do not have arrivation. Okay. And when I put this asterisk here, it's a symbol in morphology to mean ungrammatical. Okay. So we don't say it's wrong, we say it's ungrammatical, which is an euphemism. Okay. It is also true from the verb refuse, okay, that you can derive refusal, but not refusion, okay? And derivation from the verb derive, but we cannot say there is a derival, okay? You see, refuse can only be derived into refusal, but derivation can only come from derive, but there is no derival. So these are the permissive rules that allow you to create words that don't actually come to existence. Okay, so we call them lexical gaps. And the asterisk here is to say it's not grammatical. It's not inverted commas correct. Okay. And then the compounds, okay, which is the topic for our next class. Any question on lexical gaps and derived words? Lexical gaps are the derived words that didn't work, okay, because nobody needed them, okay, because we have other processes to come up with the word, okay. So next class, we are going to talk about the compounds, how they are formed. We are going to give special focus to word stress in compounds because stress is a good meaning provider in the case of compounds. Okay, and we are going to discuss it. Do you have any question? I think that's all then.
Not really
And
related
next
to the
class,
class, but
yes, you can ask, Mateus. Whatever you would like to ask.
when you said inverted commas, you mean the aspas, right? I can see it, right?
Right?
When you say inverted commas,
Yeah.
did you mean the
Yes.
aspas?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yes. Perfect. It's like this. Inverted commas is the we call it inverted commas in English. I don't know if there is any other technical term, but anyway, I always heard my teachers refer to it as inverted commas. Yes? Seria até interessante a gente tentar descobrir se existe. Deixa eu ver. Quotation marks. Também tem isso. Quotation marks. Inverted commas or quotation marks. Tem os dois tipos
sim,
aqui.
eu
Se
só conheci
vocês.
esse quotation mark.
A gente tem os dois.
O professor
Inverted
fala
commas e
alguma
quotation marks.
coisa, quote, aí
Uhum, uhum. Very good. Eu não lembrava mais dos quotation marks, mas eu aprendi também. Mas de tanto usar inverted commas, eu fiquei com isso e descartei o outro. Beleza. All right. Any other question, guys? So we have a meeting on Thursday, okay? See you then.
See you, teacher.
Professor,
Bye
Have a
bye.
good morning.
rapidão.
Bye.
O senhor tinha dito que hoje ia falar sobre a avaliação.
Ah, sim. Eu vou deixar um questionário para vocês assim que eu terminar o assunto de morphology, ok? Eu acho que na próxima aula eu termino e aí eu já vou poder lançar um questionário. Essa será a primeira avaliação de vocês. Uma espécie de um trabalhinho, tá? Na verdade, uma listinha de exercício, tá?
Aí vai ficar com um prazo de mais ou menos quanto tempo para entregar?
Ah, não, eu vou deixar um prazo bom para vocês, pelo menos uns 10 dias, no mínimo.
Porque eu
Tá?
tenho, eu
Uma
tenho a prova
semana.
de direção na outra semana, e aí eu tô com medo de não conseguir chegar no horário da aula.
Não vai ser nada em horário pré-fixado, vai ser do tipo take your time, tá?
Tá bom,
Vai ser um exercício, não vai ser uma avaliação formal. Avaliação formal mais para o fim do semestre, tá bom?
tá bom. Obrigada,
Tá
professor.
joia, gente. Tenha uma
Bom
ótima
dia.
manhã.